Hey y'all, it's me. So it's your girl, the Glow Up Is. I'm so excited for just another day, another opportunity, right, to get it right. Today is October the 17th, y'all. We made it to another Friday. I'm so excited because we made it to another Friday because we didn't have to get here, right? We didn't have to wake up this morning. That means that we still got purpose left. That means that God still got some work for us to do. Today I kind of wanted to talk to you all, right? About relationships, right? And I know that at the end of the day, and y'all know the purpose of the glow up is to grow, right? To glow, to unmask those things, right? To start tackling those things, right, that we deal with internal, those things that we mask, those things that sometimes we get ashamed of, sometimes those things that we just don't want to talk about, those things that we avoid, right? That means that we are taking the mask off, we're doing the work, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it makes us mad, even when it upsets us. We decide that we still want to move forward and actually grow, right? Grow through it, and eventually, right, the light will begin to really show, meaning that the light will have its way. And so at the end of the day, right, it's not about us, right? We're in this thing together, and that's why we call it the glow up is. So y'all, I want to talk to y'all today about relationships, and relationships is a real thing because at the end of the day, relationship starts with God, but then it also starts with yourself, and then it starts with others, right? And so I think that sometimes, right, we get it out of context because we're always thinking about either ourselves or we're thinking about either God, right? And sometimes we just maybe we put God to the back burner, but maybe we'll get so consumed in relationships when it just pertains to just ourselves and God, but we're not thinking about others. Or maybe we do, put others right before our own selves, and we haven't even properly received the love from God, right? Because only God can do that. But anyways, I kind of wanted to just talk about that today, and give y'all a little bit of scripture because I always got to have a verse, I always got to have something, right? um, where we start talking about different things. And so I wanted to talk about it, and it's going to come from Mark chapter 12, verse 28 through 24. And it says, one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked them, of all the commandments, which is the most important, right? And the most important one, answered Jesus, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment than these. So I thought that was so dope, right? How Jesus literally says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, right? All your heart and with all your soul, right? And with all your mind and with all your strength. So everything that you are, you should be loving God, right? So, with that being said, that means that we should not be loving God halfway. That means that we should be giving God everything that we are. We are completely surrendering ourselves to God. We are completely saying yes to God. That means that we're showing up even when we don't even want to show up, right? We're showing up and we're letting God love on us, but we're also loving on God with where we're at in life, because God is going to then renew us. God is then going to take all of our heart, all of our cares, all of the things of this world, right, to show us what love really looks like. He's going to show up for us. He's going to show out for us, right? And he wants us to really rest in that love, right? And when we love on him, we can then begin to love on ourselves, truly love on ourselves, not halfway, right? Because some of us, right, we don't even know how to even receive God's love. We don't even begin to even know how to even give God our yes, nor do we even begin to know how to even begin to even try to attempt to love God. Some of us haven't even tried to love God. We say, yes, I believe in you, and yes, I believe that there's a higher power, all of these different things, but our actions don't show it. God so loved us that he gave his only begotten son. So he showed us. Not only does he tell us that he loves us, right? He wants to also show us. So he said, you know what? I'm not going to just talk about it. I'm going to be about it. And so this is the thing that God is challenging us to do, even when it comes to ourselves. We have to learn to show up for ourselves, but we also have to learn to show up for him. And if we can show up for him first, then we can begin to show up for ourselves, and then in return, show up for other people. As of lately, right, we have the spectrum all the way wrong, because what's happening is, instead of putting God there, we're putting people there. And the truth of the matter is, right, is that when we begin to do that, things then become out of order because we're no longer connecting, right? We're missing the connection piece when it pertains to ourselves and God and others. Y'all, this thing hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, wait a minute, God, hold on. Time out. So you told me to love you with all of my heart, all of my strength. So you want me to love you with everything that I am in this flesh of mine, in this spirit of mine. You just want everything. You want it all. You don't want half of it. You don't want a piece of it. You want all of it, right? And so, in order for you to even set yourself up to even give yourself to somebody else, you have to be a whole person. And y'all, this thing hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, listen, one is a whole number. So just because you're single in this season of your life, it's just a season. Maybe you've been single for seasons of your life. And guess what? That's absolutely fine because what we're not going to do, sis, what we're not going to do, bro, is settle. Because no, God doesn't want us to do that. Right? If God is telling you, I want you to love me with all your heart, all of your soul, I want you to love me with everything that you got, right? Some of us ain't even be capable of even giving that to ourselves. Because see, when we love on God, God can then give us that love and then we can give it to the right person. A lot of times, y'all, the reason why we're so caught up in all of the other things is because we don't recognize the love when we see it. We're confusing it with lust. We're confusing it with all the things of the world. We're confusing it with what everybody else says love is when God has told you what love is. Y'all, that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, whoa, love is an action. It's not just something that we say. We can say it, but do we really mean it? Like, is your life speaking love or are you giving unforgiveness? Right? Are you harboring feelings? Right? Are you holding things in that you just haven't said? You haven't even been able to even grasp or be able to even allow yourself to open up, to be able to be set free, to be made whole, so you can become the one whole number. Because again, one is a whole number in itself, right? A man does not complete you. I don't know who said that. Listen, we got some crazy stuff that done been said to this world. I'm telling you, listen, we live in this world, but we're not of it. Like a man don't complete you. That man does not complete you. God says you are already complete. You are already a whole being. Two became one flesh. That means that they move as one unit, but it's two people moving as one unit. But you can't do that if you can't do that with God. So why are we even entertaining relationships when we can't even entertain God? God wants you to entertain him. He wants to be first. Like seriously, he wants to be first. Like, have y'all ever sat down, right? I'm about to be real person with y'all, because for real, this is what your girl do. So, anyways, have y'all ever sat there and had a date night with God? Like literally light the candles, right? You light the candles up, you fix two plates, and you just sitting there. Listen, I've done it numerous times to the point now where I'm just like, okay, God, this is what we doing. And I know God be like, I want him to feel good. I want God to feel good because I think about even to my person, right? And I'm just like, God, I want to love you with everything that I am. And so I know sometimes with some of the foolery, right? Because we are human beings, is that we want companionship. And because we want companionship, because this is a real thing, God says that you were not fit to be alone. And again, if you choose to be a wife, that's what you want to. If that is something that you choose and you know that God is unctioning you and leading you there and you have a heart for that, God will definitely do it, right? We have to choose to be a wife. Like any and every single woman that is on this earth has the capability of being a wife. You just may not be his wife, right? Men, a lot of men out here, right? They see wife, but they don't know whether or not you're their wife. And I think that's the misconstruence too. Like we've just gotten so accustomed to the things of the world. And I think that the reality is, I know what the reality is that we got to get back into the word. And we got to get back to the basic stuff today. And that's kind of where I wanted to go today, was just take it back to the basic foundation that God is love. There is no way that we can begin to love God, right, without loving who he is, nor loving ourselves. We can't give love to other people if we don't properly give the love, right, and show the love. And so that thing hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I was just like, Lord have mercy. And then he wanted us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So now, did you take the time to love on yourself? Have you dealt with all of the things that you hide? Have you dealt with all of the things that you don't like about you? Because y'all, that thing is real too. It's some things about you that you don't like. It's some things about you probably that you know that you need to work on, right? It's some things that you probably even need to heal through. A lot of times too, what happens is we trauma bond. I don't know about y'all, but listen, I see it all the time. I see it all the time. Sometimes we trauma bond. We bond while we're grieving. We bond, because we got this in common, and I can figure this out, and we can try and build on that. And then next thing you know, when you build on this trauma, right, and you think that you got somebody, you really think that you got somebody, and that person got you. But then what happens when you heal? What happens when you start to wake up and you become that whole number? You become that whole person that God has already saw, right? And that they're still stuck in the trauma. What happens then? Right? What happens then when that void begins to be filled and no longer needs to be filled? Y'all, that's why I tell you is that we're looking for people to complete us. And God is like, I want you to love me with everything that you are. Like, there should be nothing left for anybody at that point. Like, only God can do the impossible. It is his job, right, to open up that gate, right, for us. And we should be asking God for permission to even allow people to even talk to us. Like, I'm just saying, y'all, listen, I'm trying to tell y'all something good because this thing is really real, right? We got purpose people out here. We got purpose partner out here. I don't know about y'all, but what am I getting in a relationship with somebody for just to be getting in a relationship? Just to say I'm doing something, just to say I had a man, just because to say that I got a warm body next to me? Because listen, I done laid beside somebody before and literally felt alone. I'm just telling you, right? Only God can fill this void. Only God can do what man can't do. And because you spend time with God and you love Him with everything that you are, and you become so intentional with that love, He will begin to open up doors that only He can. He can do all of the things, right? And then the more that we begin to love on God with everything that we are, the more we begin to think like He thinks. His thoughts now become ours, His ways now become ours. Like, we're not just out here moving just by ourselves, right? Like, seriously, like, you remember that song by Neo? It's like, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. Like, you make me better. God makes us better. He makes us the best versions of ourselves that we can become. But He also has people, right, that's going to cross our paths that want to love us properly, right? But we can't properly love people if we're still holding on to all of the hurt from previous relationships. We're still holding on to all of the expectations that we had previously. We're holding on to all of the things that we want physically. We're holding on to all of the things, right? That things can change. Things are inevitable, right? Some things are just inevitable to change. Like, people's appearance, just because you look a certain way today doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna look that way 2, 3 years from now. Anything can happen. You may even get in a car accident. Maybe you may even get into, you don't know, a fire may come and then your skin is gone, right? Anything can happen, and this is the reason why it's so important for us to connect with people. It's so important for us to connect um, with God, right? To tap into who God is, so God can show us who He is even more so in the spirit, right? Where then that way, when God brings people around us, where we are, where people do come across our path, right, we will be able to recognize whether or not if this is husband material, wife material, whether or not if this is friendship material, right? Because at the end of the day, it all has to serve a purpose in our lives. Like, are they pushing me more towards God, or are they not pushing me more towards God? Are they holding me accountable, or are they not holding me accountable? Am I doing just what I want to do when I want to do it, or am I doing this because this is what God has called me to do? Right. And this is a real thing, because this is what happens, right? We begin to choose, we begin to do all of these things that we want to do. We begin to try and figure out how the story ends. And I think that sometimes, right, even as a woman, and I can say this, is that sometimes we get so caught up in the fairy tale, and the fairy tale is not real, right? That's why it's a fairy tale, right? You create your own fairy tale. God says you can have it. So why are you settling, sis? Why are you settling, bro? Why are you settling? Why can't you have what it is that God has for you? And this is the reason why it's so important for us again. And this is why God says, I want you to love me with all of your heart, all of your soul. I want you to love on me. I want you to give me everything that you got because He knows, right, that it's work. He knows that you're not just connecting with somebody, right, just to be connecting with them. He knows that that's going to serve a purpose. And guess what? So does the enemy. The enemy knows too that you're going to be connecting with people because you're going to actually bring even more people, right, to the kingdom. And the enemy don't like that. He ain't trying to get you to go out here and meet people, right, that want to do the right thing. He wants you to be connected to people that's not going to bear no fruit. And I'm talking about friendships and relationships, personal relationships, that may lead into marriage. That's what I'm talking about tonight. Because y'all, that thing hit me and I was just like, ooh, wait a minute. Ooh. Because I just see so much of this on my timeline, whether it's on Facebook, on TikTok, relationships is a real important thing. And there's so many people out here right now who are single, right? And they're older and they just want somebody, right? And again, times have changed, right? And I think that what happens is too, is that you have people that are now in their 40s and 50s and 60s that they were in marriages and then those marriages didn't work and yet they're trying to find their way and maneuver in this new dating era and it's hard to date because nobody wants to just talk to you, right? Nobody wants to just be able to even hold a conversation now, right? Nobody wants to talk on the phone now. People want to text you with emojis. People want to just, meet you on dating websites. Nobody wants to actually get to know a person like in the physical anymore. And that's the part for me where I'm just like, man, physical relationships, physical connection is a real thing. Like just being in a person's presence, right? It means a lot because the thing is, right, and I'm not saying that I got to be in your presence all the time because I don't, my love language is not physical touch, right? My love language is not as important. Physical touch is important, but it's not as important. And so for me, I don't have to have an embrace all the time, right? But I do look forward to those sometimes, right? And so we got to be real with ourselves, man. Like, what is it? God, help me to be able to receive your love first and foremost. Help me to be able to even to get a definition, right, of what love is. So then that way I can then maneuver in the right direction. I can then at least attract what I'm supposed to attract because guess what, y'all? Some of us is just attracting assignments. We're attracting assignments. We were supposed to teach them and they were supposed to learn from us, or either we learn from them and we move forward. But no, what happens is, oh, I want to keep this one. And not knowing what else was in store for you, but prematurely you gave yourself away to the first one who gave you attention, who decided to actually make something up to make you feel like y'all have a true connection because y'all are bonding and he looks good and he smells good and she looks good and she smells good and she feels, oh my gosh, her skin is so amazing. All I'm doing is just hugging her and she just smells so good and she keeps herself well. She get her toes done, her nails done, she takes care of herself and that's great, right? But what does her fruit say? What does her character show? Right? And I think that sometimes, right, we ignore the flag, we ignore the red flags because we want to have someone so badly. And then sometimes too, we actually have people who will do their homework and do their research because guess what? Social media gives people a heads up as to who you are. People will literally begin to perceive you based on the things that you share. People will then begin to base things on you, right? Put their own perceptions and stuff on you based on the things that you like on Facebook, not just share, right? The photos that you put on, right? Are they wholesome photos? Who else is friends with her that I can talk to, right? And maybe inquire about her or him, right? These are all real things, right? People may not like bluntly say or speak on that and say this is what we do, but people are watching you. Like literally. Like I had just had a friend of mine's and it was so funny because I was like, oh my gosh, this is too cute. He was like, hey, are you going to the reunion? Right. So I was just like, probably, I don't know, right? And so he was like, man, I really wanted to see you. You were like one of the main reasons why I wanted to go. And so I was just like, huh, that's interesting, right? And it's not to say that he was a bad looking guy because he's not, you know what I'm saying? He's a real cool, dope guy, real cool, calm, collective, all of that, right? And easy on the eyes, no children, you know, good age range, all of that, right? But then on top of that, I was like, kind of like, man, where is his fruit though? Right? I had to think about that. Where is his fruit? Like, what evidence, right, of God do I see? Like, what is it besides what I see now, right? What are some habits that I see? Are those things where we can address those issues and you fix them? Or is this something where I'm becoming the fixer and the one who's going to try to come up with a solution to then bring you into the presence of God? So it was just like, I don't know whether or not he really knows God. I feel like he may know of God just based on the fruit that I've seen, but I don't really know yet. Right. And so the truth of the matter is, right, is that we just got to be more intentional. We got to be more intentional with everything. And that's why I said is that it's easier said than done is that sometimes we have to be mindful too because the enemy knows your type. The enemy knows your type. Yep, you got a type. And so what'll happen is too, right, is that the enemy will then begin to dress it up, make it look good, smell good, and all of these different things. And you see all of the red flags, but because now your heart is involved, you decided to go ahead on and try. You decided to go ahead on and stay, and now you got a baby with this person or babies with this person and you just like, dang, I done got myself into a hole. And now that I done got myself into this hole, I'm trying to figure out whether or not this is really where I'm supposed to be. Should I still remain here? Right. And I know God will give us grace and grant us grace throughout it. Right. But we still want to make sure that we're with someone who can truly lead us. Right. And that's why I say loving God. And when God says, love on me with all your heart, all your soul, He's telling you that because He wants to be your Lord. He wants to be your King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He wants to be that, right? He wants to prepare you, right, for the reflection of who He is on earth. He wants to prepare you for your purpose partner. You can't be out here preparing yourself for your purpose partner. You don't know how to choose. And I'm not telling you this because listen, I'm gonna tell you what, I chose wrong too. I chose wrong too. I didn't get it right on the first time. I didn't get it right on the first try. I didn't. I didn't get it right on the second try either. I was never married, but I was in these relationships that didn't have no purpose. And the crazy part is that I felt like I could drag the man into God's presence and get him to the point where he can start really living for God, where he wasn't just going to be of God anymore. He was going to really truly live it. And if he lived it, then he could properly lead right. And then I can let him lead the house instead of me leading and trying to take the reins, right? Because I invested years in him. Right. And I think that's the problem is that we're investing years in people. And because we're beginning to invest these years in people, right? The truth of the matter is that we then try and bring things on ourselves. Like we bring these things on ourselves. And because we bring these things on ourselves, it then creates chaos, right? In the household. And then we begin to ask God to, God, I need your help. God, I need your understanding. God, I need for your ways to now become my ways. I need for you to restore me again, right? And this is where that repentance comes in, meaning that we have changed behavior. That means that we have a new beginning. That means that we have new opportunities, right? To be able to get to know people. We have new opportunities to be able to get to know people in a different light. Then we can begin to also know too and heal through the things that it is that we have endured in the past. And that's a real thing too, is that when we become intentional with who God wants us to be, right? Because when He says to love Him with everything that we are, we're then having Him to love on us, right? Fully, right? And we begin to receive that. And then we can then give that same love to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And I think that's a real thing too, right? Is being intentional with the love, being intentional with the care. I think next week, y'all, I'm gonna talk about that some more, and we're gonna deep dive into that again. But I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all know I love y'all here at the Glow Up Is, man. This is what we do, right? We grow to glow, and we're just gonna continue to grow. We're gonna continue to glow. I hope and pray that your light is being shined. I hope and pray that God's light is being shown, right? If this has blessed you, please share this channel with your loved ones. Please share the love, right? Next week, y'all, I think we're just gonna focus on love for a little bit in the relationships, because this thing is really real, and God has really given me a heart for relationships. Whether or not if it was a failed relationship, whether or not if it's just things that we just truly sometimes get embarrassed to even talk about, right? Those things that sometimes we just like, man, we got to be truthful with ourselves. I don't even know whether or not if I can even have it. I don't even know whether or not if I'm even going to be able to understand this love to even be able to try again. And we got to be real with ourselves. Anyways, y'all, I'll see y'all next week around the same time, probably 5:45, like we normally do, 6 o'clock. Y'all already know the glow up is what we do, right? We grow to glow. I'll see y'all next week. All right, y'all. Bye.